Okay, welcome. This is the Deschutes County Board of Commissioners meeting, 9 a.m. Wednesday, June 4th, 2025. A happy anniversary, my lovely wife. So June 4th, 1994, we got married. So today's my anniversary day also. First item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time is citizen input for any items not on the published agenda. Is there anyone in the room for citizen input? Seeing none, is there anyone online with the raised hand feature? Okay, so special welcome to the chair of the Lane County Commission, David Love, also a county commissioner from a different part of the state, just happens to be in town. And I said, come on down and see how we do business. So thank you for joining us today.
His life is not exciting enough in Eugene, so he has to come over here.
At this time, consent agenda.
So moved.
Second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Commissioner Adair?
Yes.
Commissioner Chang?
Yes.
And Chair will vote yes. Action items, item number 10, so National Medal of Honor Highway Act briefing. Dick Tobiasen, thank you very much for joining us on this long history of celebrating our veterans and our history and National Medal of Honor Highway. And go ahead and take it away from there. You're ready to talk about this.
May I have the first slide, please? And the next one, please. I'll do it right here.
Yep.
So, good morning. I'm Dick Tobiasen. I'm the chairman of the Ben Harris Foundation and manager of the National Medal of Honor Highway. So with me today, I have Eric Tobiasen, my son, who's the president of the foundation, and Nicole Van Eikeren, who is Senator Wyden's representative here in Bend. Without Nicole, we wouldn't be meeting here today. An amazing staff that Senator Wyden has. So we have some friends here from ODOT that have been helping us with signs for the last 16 years. Regional Manager, Region 4, Tiffany Johnson. And then District Manager, Jim Schulte.
Mm-hmm.
And then paving is Roland Williams. And our intrepid sign installer, Dave Leffert. Put your hand up, Dave and Barbara.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. So I would like to thank the commission for allowing us this time to talk about the highway because it took 8 years to get there from here, and it actually started in this room at this desk on Bob Maxwell's 97th birthday. It's October 20th, 2017. We were here. So Governor Brown signed that law, and that law is interesting because Oregon's the first state to have a Medal of Honor highway across the whole state, honoring all of its Medal of Honor recipients. It happens to be on the longest highway in the United States. Highway 20 goes from Newport, Oregon to Boston, where I was born. So in that law, it says, if we did this right, we could have a Medal of Honor highway across the United States, longest highway in the United States. So we started it here in Oregon. Thanks to you for hosting that meeting with Governor Brown. There's a marvelous picture there that you can see on your monitor of Bob sitting essentially right here, Governor Brown here, Representative Mike McLean, Representative John Huffman, and myself. So this was a pivotal time in history for Medal of Honor recipients because no one had ever done this before. There's no such thing in any other state. There might be an interchange or a bridge or something, but nothing like this. So I promised Bob when we testify, I said, Bob, we're going to get this through Oregon, but I'm going to get it across the United States. So I put it in the law. And so I gave a talk on this subject to 20 Medal of Honor recipients in March in Washington, D.C. And the title of my talk was A Promise Kept. So we've kept my promise, not only to Bob, but to all Medal of Honor recipients. I've met 12 now altogether. So it's a big deal making a promise, and I'm very confident that it could be kept because no one has ever said no to anything we've ever proposed to honoring veterans. So at the county, the city, and the state and federal level. So the next map, please. So, whoops, I got it right here. So this is a map of Oregon. Eric, would you put that map up and take that one down? So this is a map of Oregon, and you can see the blue line through the state, starting in Newport, Oregon, and ending up in the Idaho line, going right through Deschutes County, of course. And so we put up 12 signs. Dave and I put up 12 signs, and we've got 4 in Deschutes County, 2 west of Mendon, 2 east of Mendon. We'll talk about what we're going to do with them given the new law. But so there are 9 highways that cross Oregon east to west, north, south. So it's taken 16 years to get every one of them named for veterans. There's a World War I highway, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Persian Gulf, Afghanistan, Iraq. And then there's special highways called the Purple Heart, POW/MIA, Medal of Honor. And then the last highway is, what about all those families that lost loved ones in all those 5 wars? We lost 6,000 Oregonians out of 248,000 who served. I'm sorry, 480,000 who served. So the last highway is the Oregon Gold Star Families Memorial Highway on Highway 30, which is the longest highway in Oregon. So Dave and I went up to the intersection of 97 and I-84 and put up the last sign, the 8th sign for the Gold Star. No one's ever done that for Gold Star people. And given that we did the Medal of Honor highway across the United States, there's every reason to believe you could do the same thing for Gold Star. There's 625,000 Gold Star families, 2.5 million people that someone could honor. Okay, so if you look at the sign, the highway signs, we had a mock-up right here 8 years ago. There are 3 medals of honor. There are 3 versions of the Medal of Honor, and below each of the signs we have that, and that's all true across the United States. So we have 94 signs that way. Okay. When we implemented the law, Bob Maxwell was 97, 98 at the time, pretty spry for a veteran who was heavily damaged with a hand grenade in France in World War II. So Bob made it to the dedication of the sign right here west of Bend. You can see him there sitting in a chair with the law. See that law that you saw a moment ago? That's right there framed, and that hung in his room until he died. Now it's we'll take care of that by hanging it up at Bend High School. We have a big exhibit going for Bob there. So you can see the 3 medals. And then over in Newport on the left photo, you can see us dedicating the first sign across the United States in Newport. A marvelous ceremony. So Bob was there. And so I worked with Idaho to get that highway done right away because Bob was born in Boise and his health was declining. We wanted to get his home state up even with Oregon, so to speak, and that happened. I brought a picture back. I met with the governor. We dedicated the sign. I brought a picture back to Bob, and he was just in tears to know that progress was being made. Oregon, yep, Idaho, and of course it went all the way through. But I had lunch with him the day before he died, and I said, Bob, we're getting there. And so we got the last sign done after he died. Okay. So to prove that we've got other states involved, I'm only going to show 3 states here of typically they followed the model that we set in Oregon. The ODOT state sign engineer, Marie Kennedy, took the 3 versions of the medals that we had in Oregon and passed them off to each state so they're all the same. That was not easy, but anyhow, we have to thank ODOT for doing that. To get this highway done, I don't have anybody. It's just me and Eric and a few volunteers here in Oregon. But so I had to go find people in each state, and I just went down the list: American Legion, VFW, and things like that, military officers, Purple Heart. In each state, I finally found one. I said, I'll write the law for your state based on the Oregon law, and I want you to get this law through your state, through your legislature and the governor, and put up signs, and you figure out how to pay for the signs, whether the state, most of the time the state's paid for them. In Oregon, we have to pay for them because That's the way the legislature works. We can't use any taxpayer funds. Okay, so we got that done in each state, and it took 4 years to do that. So now we've got 2 years done for Oregon, 4 years across the United States. That's 6 years. So, Eric, the next map, please. So the 12 states that highway traverses, each of those states is going to honor the Medal of Honor recipients from that state. So Oregon's got 29, and then you go to New York has got 680, and some states have a handful. So if you add up all the Medal of Honor recipients in those states and compare it to the total, which is 3,528 for all time from all 50 states, you find out, well, that highway's only covering 56%. So I wrote a letter to Senator Wyden and said, hey, I'm going to get this done, and I'd like to have your agreement to promote this nationally. So we have a national Medal of Honor highway instead of a Medal of Honor highway across America to honor 100%, all 3528, all 50, and all future. And he said, you get the last state done, and I'll get that going. And of course, the last state was Massachusetts, and I went back there and dedicated the last sign. So I've been, and it was a mile from where I was born. So anyhow, we got those 94 states signs up, and we got a law in process. So this allowed me to, if Bob were alive, to prove that it could be done. So in the Senate, Senator Wyden got his bill 1478 through the Senate in 7 months. But our friends in the House just sat on it, and we have 4 Oregon representatives on the committee in the House that was responsible for it, and I met with them and pleaded with them and wrote letters and phone calls. And I said, why don't you just take Senator Wyden's bill off the Speaker's desk and promote it, forget the House bill, and just pick up the Senate bill and just get it passed by suspension of rules? Well, they did it 16 months later. And the sad thing about it is, of the 65 Medal of Honor recipients then living, 5 would die while we were waiting for the House Act. So Senator Wyden got it through while we had 65, and then we had to wait. But it finally got done. I was losing sleep because the 118th session was coming to a close. So within 2 weeks of the close, we got the House to, yay, verily, we accept Senator Wyden's bill. So then it had to go to President Biden for signature. So President Biden signed that law. That is the original, and that is his pen. And so that is the first time Congress and a president have honored veterans of any era with a coast-to-coast highway. I went back to Washington to receive that from Senator Wyden's staff, framed, and I gave a talk to 250 people attending the National Medal of Honor Summit. So I met 20 more Medal of Honor recipients. I had to give this story, and I had 5 minutes. There were 28 of us giving different stories about the Medal of Honor projects, and so I had 5 minutes and one slide, and of course the slide was the map. So what I did was, Senator Wyden's staff was so kind, I had them print up 20 duplicates of the bill, and I personally gave them to each Medal of Honor recipient there, and told them what we plan to do to dedicate the highway. We now have a law. How are we going to implement the law? Well, we're going to have a massive motorcycle ride across the United States, starting on the USS Constitution is where we're going to ring the bell in Boston Harbor. Then we'll step on the ground in Kenmore Square where the highway starts, and then we'll work our way across the United States, and we'll be here in Deschutes County on the 13th of June next year. We want to finish in Newport on the 14th of June, which is Flag Day, the Army's birthday, and so that's our plan. I'll keep you up to date on that, because when we come through the county, I just would love to have you folks with us, because it all started here with you. Thank you. So we have to thank the legislature. I was supposed to brief them yesterday, but they canceled it a couple of days ago. I'll be back in Salem in September. But they had confidence. They had trusted us, and they met Bob Maxwell, and I think anything else was not needed. It was just Bob's presence that that, and Bob just said, I'm here for all of them. He could never single himself out to be honored. It was always e pluribus, one of many. So we'll keep you up to date. Dave and I are going to convert two of the 4 signs here in Deschutes County from Oregon. We'll take the word Oregon off and put up the word national. And Dave Leopard, you got something to give us here?
There it is.
So
On behalf of ODOT, Dick, I want to present these placards to you to change the Oregon Medal of Honor Highway sign to
We're
the
starting.
National
Well,
Medal of Honor Highway.
and we can all get a photo here pretty quick too.
Well, Oregon, of course, will be the first state to do this, and we're working with the other states, and so once they see this, they'll know what I've been talking about as an overlay, but that's the solution to an inexpensive solution.
Well, let's all step up and get a photo with that right now.
Dave and I are not going to do that today, but we'll be doing that soon.
Let's all step up.
Uh,
Yeah, Dick, let's all get a photo right now together.
we
I
should
didn't hear you.
say that we
Eric.
all of us
Yeah.
kept our promise to Bob and all Medal of Honor recipients. And
Yeah.
one of the things about this project was,
Let-
okay, so
Go ahead and finish.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Go ahead. Go ahead, Dick. This is your show. This is exciting.
together, which is
Yep.
very unusual.
Yeah.
And I think we should, could we do a photo op, please?
That's a great idea.
All right. All you folks, all you vote. Sure.
See what I can trip on.
Who's gonna hold? Hold along. And then, for your support and confidence in us, you get a National Medal of Honor Highway coin, and it's got a map, the same map you've seen before.
And June 13th next year is actually on a Saturday. I was really glad it wasn't on a Friday, so it's on Saturday. I just looked it up. For the event when you come through. I should-
Yeah, we're gonna try to finish, we wanna be at Corvallis. Because, the only Medal of Honor recipient for World War I was from Oregon State, and he built the building there, we dedicated a sign at the campus. And so we wanna do that again on having the motorcycle people there, put them in the stadium and then have lunch. And
So you'll be here on Saturday morning then?
I don't know, we only have kind of just a thumbnail sketch of the whole itinerary, but we want to finish on 14th, so we'll be, we're discussing how far can you ride it a day, it's like 3 hours.
Forever.
So
Yeah, you're not on a bus.
motorcycle guys get. Okay,
go.
We get people.
Yeah, a little bit in center here. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
It's a big project.
Okay, I gotta be with Eric holding that. I gotta have half the sign. Please send me pictures on everything.
Oh.
But I always felt so good working with the county because everybody was so welcoming and positive and supportive. You know,
Thanks, Nicole.
just relaxing, feels great. to me. Thank
Where
you.
we get stuff done.
Congratulations.
Thank you,
Yes.
sir.
Nice to hear.
Don't even appreciate it.
Not like the weekend.
Well, Dick, congratulations. Thank you very much. You're bringing people together across the country. That's what what comes to mind for me is bringing people together across the country. Seeing that national map is just motivating. Thank you for your efforts, many years in the making. It's exciting that it did start here and it just propagated all the way east to west, west to east.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dick, thank you for Dick, I also wanted to thank you for the history lesson. That's quite a story about how legislation gets passed and how something like a National Medal of Honor highway gets created, and played a tremendous role in that. So much appreciation for that and for honoring all vets all the time.
Dick, what is your next project going to be?
What's the next one?
Dick, what are you going to be working on next? What's your next project? I know we're going to get the greenhouse up at the Veterans Village.
Actually have a serious proposal last night. And it's to do with highways. It's to do with people who are killed on highways. It has to do with a program started in Montana over 50 years ago. It's a program not to honor people who have been killed, but it's a safety project to remind people speeding kills, driving under the influence kills, people who die in accidents in Montana. The American Legion has worked with a state counterpart to ODOT to put up white crosses at every fatal site. There are strict standards for it. I just talked to Tiffany and Jim a few minutes ago on the way in here. I'm over 90 now, and I'm not sure I can do much, but I'm going to talk it up with ODOT because the American Legion wants to do it. It says, no, we have to find out if ODOT's policy would allow such a thing, or if we require legislation. So we're going to have an offline discussion with that, but I think that's a serious thing that we should think about on highways. How many people are killed? We know how to take care of veterans and first responders, but it's people who die in car and vehicle crashes. We need to think about how to use that as a teaching example to reduce that. So thank you for asking the question. But we have a few more things.
We want to keep you busy.
Yeah, let's see if we can get someone else to do it.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Congratulations. Thanks to ODOT for maintaining those signs. Thank you. So this is, road department engineer. So this is for our next item, Cody? Yeah, next item. Okay.
Is ODOT taking the,
Yep, they got it.
don't forget those.
Okay, so at this time, item number 11. So this is a work session in preparation for a public hearing on Deschutes County Code Title 12. With the clear and objective standards effort that's going on.
Give me 1 second here.
Sure.
Patient keyed up. Okay, I think I'm rolling now. All right.
There we go.
All right. Good morning, everyone. For the record, Cody Smith, County Engineer, Assistant Road Department Director. Board, I'm here this morning to prepare you for a public hearing that we're going to be holding next week at your Wednesday meeting regarding some proposed text amendments to Deschutes County Title 12. So I got a presentation I'll run you through here, and I'll dive right into this. So some background information. So Deschutes County Title 12 is titled Roads, Sidewalks, and Public Places. It's effectively our road code. In early 2024, road department staff took on some proposed edits to several chapters in Deschutes County Code Title 12, in particular chapters 4, 6, 12, 16, and 20 that pertain to utilities within public right of way. And a few things that precipitated this initial kind of big endeavor to rewrite and update some of our utility code. Primary one, much of that existing utility code was adopted in 1976. There have been some minor updates along the way, primarily in 2012 and 2021. But it was kind of long overdue for a major overhaul to bring them up, to modernize it to current standards and practices. So again, this was an effort to align that portion of our code with current practices, construction methods and standards, and to simplify and some of the regulations and to consolidate those into a single chapter. They're spread out over multiple chapters and kind of verbose, and a lot of it was unnecessary. So as we were in the middle of that effort, though, in the summer of 2024, department staff needed to shift that were working on this needed to shift our efforts to assisting the community development department with their project with the clear and objective standards text amendments that they were making primarily to Deschutes County Code Title 17, which is titled subdivisions. So in that effort, one thing that was identified was a need to move some of our county road standards, which are actually embedded in Title 17, the subdivision code, from that land division code to the road title of the code. And then with that, also a need to update and reorganize and clarify some of those standards. So I'm just going to go a chapter at a time here, give you an overview, kind of a general overview of the current state of those individual chapters and then what we're proposing for them. So I'll begin with 1204. So 1204 is the general provisions and definitions, as that is kind of the preamble chapter to Title 12. But as that chapter currently sits right now, it's really just providing definitions and general provisions, and many of those outdated definitions and general provisions that primarily just pertain to utilities within the public right-of-way. It doesn't sufficiently address all road right-of-way related matters. It's not giving definitions for many terms that are used in our code that pertain to road standards and to right-of-way standards. So our proposed edit to Title 12, keeping that same title, but making that more of a preamble to all of Title 12 in general, all of our road and right-of-way regulations in that title. So with that, we're removing outdated definitions or definitions for terms that are not even used in the code, and then including new definitions. Primarily, those are definitions that are basically deleted and moved from Title 17. In particular, Chapter 1704. Okay, so 12.8, 12, 16, and 20. So 1208 right now is the permit procedures for utilities within the public right-of-way. 1212 is administrative provisions relating to utilities and public right-of-way. 1216 is utility policy guidelines and variances, and 1220 is specifications for utility location, construction, operation, maintenance, repair, relocation, and removal. Just in a nutshell, these chapters contain a lot of outdated terms and practices. Again, much of this was adopted back in 1976. It kind of appears, this is speculation on my part, it kind of appears to me that back in 1976, I think we copied our utility code, probably from another Oregon city. A lot of it is just kind of confusing.
It wasn't Eugene, was it?
I'm not sure, but,
Okay.
and again, I'm speculating, but it has that appearance. So anyways, a lot of outdated terms and practices, needlessly verbose, and it's not very well organized. So what our proposed amendment to this is combining all four of those chapters into one chapter, just into Chapter 8, retitling that as Utilities Within the Public Right-of-Way. So we're consolidating all four chapters pertaining those utilities into one chapter, a removal of outdated standards and methods. So a couple examples in there. There's a lot of talk about the use of transite pipe, not a product that's used anymore. There's a lot of talk about direct buried cable. So that's electrical lines, communication lines that are not inside of a conduit. They're just buried right in the dirt. Not a practice that we allow, not a practice that any utility owners do anymore either. The update also includes some new provisions regarding accessibility guidelines, permitting by other agencies. If there's just pointing out that if there's other land use, state or federal environmental permitting things, putting it on the utility owner for obtaining those permits. all stuff that's typical practice for the road department and implementing our utility permitting process right now. It's not codified, not very well articulated in our code presently. Otherwise, in general, just aligning our code with our current utility permitting procedures. So with that, consolidating everything in Chapter 8, we'd effectively be repealing the remaining chapters. I included 8 on this list. I didn't mean to, but basically you're just repealing chapters 12, 16, and 20, taking the key provisions from those chapters that are still applicable and combining those into 12.08. Before I move on to 1748, any questions regarding the utility stuff real quick? All right. So now I'm going to dive into actually a discussion about a new proposed chapter, which is 12.25, but a little bit of reflection on chapter 1748. So changes to 1748 itself are actually embedded in Community Development Department's clear and objective standards effort. So the proposed Title 1748 was presented to the board in the public hearing that was held last week. But 1748 is currently titled Design and Construction Specifications, and it's effectively the county road standards. So our county is granted authority to implement their own road standards under the County Road Statute, ORS 368, in particular 368-36. Also various provisions in the Oregon Vehicle Code. But in summary, 1748 is our road standards. That includes our standards for road improvement plans and engineering reports, roadway geometry, structure and drainage design, traffic control devices, construction specifications, and other right-of-way specifications. So looking at some of the issues with 1748 as it currently exists, not as what's proposed in the clear and objective standards, but just as it currently exists. Number one is just where it's located. So our road standards are embedded in our land division code. The biggest problem with that is our road standards are applicable to all work that occurs within our public right of way, including work performed by the road department. And I would say by far the road department are the biggest users of those standards and implementing those standards. So it doesn't just apply to improvements associated with land divisions. Another thing is road standards are administered and enforced by the road department, not by CDD. So Title 12 is kind of the road department's part of the code, 17 not so much. I mentioned before what the state law that grants us the county to implement our own road standards is kind of separate from all the land use stuff and ORS 92 pertaining to land divisions. And ultimately our road standards are based on state and federal standards for public highways and also based on engineering judgment. So kind of diving deeper in some of the other issues with the actual text of 1748 as it currently exists. A big one is Table A. So Table A is at the very end of the chapter. It's a table of our minimum roadway design standards. This table, and so this table was included in what the board saw previously with the proposed text amendment to 1748, where we're just deleting this table in its entirety. But that Table A is very difficult to interpret. It includes a lot of erroneous standards in there that we are never applied, or in some cases we don't even have the authority to implement. Big one is it provides standards for state highways. We're not granted any authority over the state highway system. Those standards are never used. There's a lot of variable dimensions in there in regards to roadway widths, pavement widths, things like that. It's very difficult to interpret through that which width applies. You know, when we're talking, I'll show an example here in just a second. But in the spirit of making our code clarifying our code, that variability is we don't want to see that. And that table includes 23 footnotes. So there's a whole list of notes at the very end that you have to sift through that apply to different things in the table. It's just very difficult to use. So I'm just showing, and this is hard to see on the screen, but I'm just showing a very small piece of the current table that exists in there. Again, hard to see on the screen there, but top of the list there's a whole row there of state highway standards that don't apply, that we have no authority to implement. Some outdated terms just in terms of how we functionally classify our road system, like minor arterial. That's not something that's included in our transportation system plan anymore. We just have arterials, collectors, and local roads. If you're looking at if you can see it, again, you probably can't, but the column for pavement widths, many of those standards are variable, and then they include a little number that's right next to them for different footnotes that you have to refer to know which width you're actually looking at. Skipping ahead, this is all the footnotes that are from the bottom of that current table. There's a lot of info you have to go through here. Have the Rosetta Stone to really decipher what's the information in this table. So some other issues with 1748 as it currently exists. We have very minimal standards around bridges and structures, highway structures that get built in our right of way. Right now in code, there's only one sentence that pertains to highway structures in our code, and it basically just says that to design them with a 50-year design life. It's lacking a lot. Really no substantive requirements regarding accessibility requirements associated with the American with Disabilities Act. 1748 presently includes some of our key driveway and access provisions, but whereas meanwhile we have a whole chapter in Title 12 that's devoted to driveway and access. That's chapter 1228, but it lacks some of these key provisions that are currently in a different title, a completely different chapter in our code pertaining to site distance requirements and spacing requirements. And then lastly, 1748 also includes some utility construction standards where it's duplicating things that were already in 12.08, or it's otherwise including things that should have been in 12.08 in the first place. So what the board saw last week in the clear and objective standards effort, 1748 would be retitled as the road development standards. And with that, the removal of all the engineering and construction standards that are administered by the road department from 1748, i.e. how roads are constructed. And then 1748 will just retain the road development standards that are administered by CDD, such as when roads are improved or constructed. And 1748 will now reference this new chapter in Title 12, 1225. So meanwhile, with the proposed chapter 1225, that'll be titled the Road Design and Construction Specifications. This will include all of our county road design and construction standards, putting those into the road title of the code. It will reorganize those and modernize those, and it includes some other miscellaneous updates to align with current practices. So as an example, we were looking at Table A. Table A will go away. Those tables will be pieced off and incorporated directly into the text of the code based on the functional classification of the road. A lot more concise and easy for somebody who's diving into the code to interpret and follow. No more variable standards. No more state highway standards, no more standards for zones that don't really exist anymore that we're not administering. There was a lot of stuff in there that pertained to the Redmond UA, Lapine UAs, things like that, that we don't ever deal with them anymore. They're covered by something different now, or they're just, it's no longer applicable. Some other key updates with this, provides clearer requirements regarding pedestrian facilities. We're including a direct reference to federal accessibility guidelines, namely the PROAG, or the Public Right-of-Way Accessibility Guidelines that are published by the U.S. Access Board. That's kind of the standard that all states and municipalities use for accessibility guidelines in their standards. Provides clear design requirements for bridges and structures. So we've got a whole new section now on live load, dead load requirement for bridge design, lateral load designs regarding earthquake, hydraulic designs for bridges, things like that. Just some key stuff that was lacking, but not really a change in how we currently do business. Just again, kind of codifying the way we do things that's somewhat contrary to what's in code now, out of necessity. Clearer design and reporting requirements for drainage facilities, more alignment with the Central Oregon Stormwater Manual, which our county adopted several years ago. And some other miscellaneous housekeeping updates. Few examples. Our 1748 currently includes a whole section on right-of-way improvement agreements. So if a development, let's say, is doing improvements on an existing road, they're entering into an improvement agreement for that. There was a bonding requirement in there, but it didn't tell us how we calculate what that bond amount is going to be. We've included some language in there to line that up with how development improvement agreements are done through CDD, stuff that was already codified. Also, something we've changed is allowance for alternate turnaround facilities at cul-de-sacs. Right now, our code explicitly requires a cul-de-sac is going to end in a cul-de-sac bulb in all cases. That hasn't been practical, and that's not what we've implemented in many cases. Fire code allows for other alternate turnarounds where we have cases where we know a road's going to be extended in the future. Construction, dedication of a big cul-de-sac bulb at the end of the road is not appropriate. So we've made some changes to allow for those other alternate forms of turnaround facilities at the end of, at dead ends of roads.
So, Cody, I hate to cut in right now, but I do have a question. I've been working with the neighborhood on Cherokee down in Deschutes River Woods, and they have 1,400 feet that is not paved to a Forest Service entrance.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering, would they be considered, can you talk to me later? Are they primary or are they secondary subdivision there for the minimum width required?
I'd be happy to talk.
Yeah, I would love to talk to you about that because there's 3 businesses there and it's a really, really bumpy road. I drove it. You have to drive like 4 miles an hour to get down it. And it's, so
Yeah.
what is it? they
Happy
should be
to
doing?
talk to you about that more offline. I know we've talked about that one. That's obviously that's a subdivision that was developed back in the 60s. What you're looking at right now would be for in a case where a new subdivision is being created today. So it's not necessarily applicable to that case, but definitely happy to talk to you about that more.
Great. I'd just like to know what the standards are.
And then lastly, some other housekeeping stuff or changes to requirements regarding surveying, traffic control, and other things, just to align this with current practices. So lastly, moving on to chapter 1228, which is the driveways and access to public roads chapter. The way the chapter currently exists, there's some of the issues with it. Number one, there's some unclear requirements around width, the width of access approaches at the public right of way. We have maximum width requirements, but our code doesn't include minimum width requirements. We oftentimes have people who want to who propose things that would be unacceptable in terms of width, sometimes things that aren't even the width of a conventional vehicle. Mentioned before, it currently lacks spacing and sight distance requirements, as those are currently embedded in 1748. There's several requirements in there that carry on for paragraphs that are just, quite frankly, never used. For example, driveways near alleys. We haven't ever dealt with that in my tenure here, and no sign that we've ever dealt with it prior. That's not to say we couldn't have this case. It's just the paragraphs of code we have around certain things such as this is just taking up space. And then otherwise there's excessive narrative around some other things, in particular construction details that are much better depicted in standard drawings that we're implementing anyways. So in our proposed chapter 1228, number one, we have all the access requirements. So again, we're talking about access to the public road. So we're talking about what happens within the right of way and at the interface of the right of way. We're not talking about what's happening on private property up to someone's front door. We're just talking about what's going on in the public right of way. We have all those access requirements contained in the appropriate chapter, including those spacing, site distance, other safety provisions. Clarified width requirements for residential, commercial, and agricultural accesses. Some rewording to align things with our current driveway access permitting procedures. That's kind of a joint effort between Community Development Department and the Road Department. And then deletion of excessive or otherwise unused provisions in that chapter.
Cody, is this chapter where you would deal with, minimum road widths and things like that for, fire trucks and other kinds of public safety?
Minimum widths within the public right of way. So if we're talking about the width of a driveway on private property, no, because that's not really under the purview of the road department.
Right.
That's really under the purview of the fire protection district, who would be commenting on a land use application through CDD.
Okay.
So next steps here, as has been said before, we'll be having a public hearing on this, on these proposed amendments next Wednesday, June 11th. And what the intent here is that the proposed, the adoption of these proposed changes to Title 12 would align with the first and second reading for the Title 17 Clear and Objective Standards amendments. So tentatively hoping that this will all occur, that the first and second reading for all of this would occur on June 25th. And with that, I will stop sharing my screen and happy to answer any additional questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cody, just the one clarification, not clarification, just for our awareness. And that is that there's a lot of references to CDD and to Title 17, but this package of amendments, I assume, is coming directly to the board. It didn't go through the planning commission first.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Yeah, and maybe it's something I should have made more clear. I mean, there's certainly connecting tissue to the clear and objective standards effort that CDD is doing. That's not what the road department's doing here. It kind of happened at like I said in the beginning of my presentation, we were already engaged in this kind of major update to some portions of our code, but yeah.
So would you say these are basically all existing practices? My thought is, are there any big policy choices that are kind of implied in this?
No, I mean, there's, again, yes, there are things presently, practices, and I mentioned several of them as we were going along here that are the way we currently conduct business, because we have to, but our current code doesn't necessarily align with that. So we're aligning our code with current practice in those cases.
I'm just thinking, so this is a work session on the item. If somebody's interested in this topic and wants to go through, a fine item, the intention is not to drastically change a response from the road department.
So for example, like the stuff around our road standards themselves. Yeah, there was an intent to completely, to change our road standards. It was an attempt to much better organize them so it's much clearer for all interested parties to interpret. And the biggest interested party obviously is myself, but certainly someone, a private engineer is working on something so that they have much better ease of use when they're reading our code.
As I say, we're setting up for a public hearing on the matter. So anybody that's following this topic, we want some feedback, but the intention is not to change the way we're doing business or the response of, the engineering reviews.
Correct.
Great. Any other questions?
And kind of a related question. So first off, thank you for doing this major overhaul and cleanup of our road related code. And I'm just trying to get a sense of how someone who needs review, whether it be internal review or review of a development, a proposed development, like whether their experience is going to be different now. I mean, you know, shifting stuff over to chapter 12, cleaning up both of the chapters. Is the experience of someone who needs review by yourself going to actually be any different, or is it
No,
more a
no,
benefit for you to?
not really, other than that we can better point them at easier code provisions to interpret. But no, that experience, again, those standards, there's not any change in the standards here. It's just, it's a complete reorganization of the standards, or otherwise aligning them with current practices, current state and federal rules.
Right.
But no, in terms of the
Outdated.
time of review, and in terms of the process, absolutely no change there. It's aligning it with how it currently happens.
Right, and the division for a development application, the division of labor between you and community development department, that's basically still the same, even though we've moved stuff from
Yes.
chapter 17 to chapter 12. Okay, great, thank you.
Cody, this must have been a big project. Thank you to you and the staff for all the work they've done. It's, yeah, tremendous cleaning up. So maybe that, we'll see if if the public has any good comments that they can pick up.
Yeah, no, look forward to it. Yeah, this was a heavy lift. We do have some other stuff we want to in the coming years, some other chapters that we want to update and modernize as well. But this was the big heavy lift right here for sure.
It looks heavy.
And it seems like the kind of project that in some cases some people would like hire an outside consultant for. You guys did this all in-house.
That's correct. Yeah. There was a little bit of input from the consultant working on CDD's clear and objective standards, but that was pretty nominal, I'd say. So,
I think that's great. I mean, to the extent that we can save money on outside consultants and do things that are within our capabilities if we have the time. It helps economize on our expenditures. Thank you.
So we're set up for next week on this, or 2 weeks from now? It says June 11th in the memo.
the 11th would be next week, correct?
Yep,
Yeah, next Wednesday.
next week. Okay, so public hearing on this matter next week.
Correct.
Yes. It happens to be the first day of the Sisters Rodeo. The PBR is that night. So
Oh,
That's
boy.
a good reference point.
we know.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cody. And I'll talk to you later about my Cherokee problem.
Item number 12, spay and neuter grant requests.
Morning, Commissioners. Can you hear me? Jim Patterson, Strategic Initiatives Manager. Oh, this feels really close. Can you hear me fine? I can't really pick myself up. Yeah?
It's almost working.
Oh, should I switch? There we go.
Yes.
Okay, I'm talking right into it. I might switch the other one. More comfortable to talk into.
There you go.
Okay, that's better. All right, good morning, Commissioners. Jen Patterson, Strategic Initiatives Manager. I'm here this morning to talk about the spay and neuter grant request, just to give a little bit of background for any member of public who may be listening. Historically, Deschutes County has offered a yearly spay and neuter grant program. The grant utilizes funds from dog license contributions and has previously been included in supplemental funding by the general fund. In 2023, the board opted to change the grant cycle from a 1-year grant cycle to a 2-year grant cycle. And so now we are at the 2-year grant cycle mark. We opened up the grant opportunity. I did outreach to anyone who had applied for a spay and neuter grant anytime from 2019 onward. So some of them weren't the most recent recipients, but everyone had the opportunity to apply for the spay and neuter grant. And with that, we received 6 grant applications in the total amount of $9,000, and we have about $5,000 in grant requests. Robert Tintel, our CFO, just gave me the most updated amount in the account, which is $4,928. So it looks like we'll probably get to the 5,000 by the end of the month there. So included in your packet is the grant applications for all 6 organizations who applied for the spay and neuter grant. So I will pause to see how you would like to move forward with the discussion. If you want me to individually review each grant application, or if you had the opportunity to review those individually in your grant and your packet and just want to open up for discussion amongst yourselves.
So this is, yeah, putting structure to how we might want to go through a process. Thanks for putting this package together for us. And we haven't talked about this as a group yet. So any thoughts about where we want to proceed? We want to kind of pick items today or?
Boy, have things not changed? In 23, we gave a maximum of $2,643 to Street Dog Hero. And looking at what we can do today, you know, every candidate really has a story that's important, you know, to help with their programs. So, but I just, you know, 2 years ago, you know, what a difference. If each applicant received, it would be $833 if we divided it evenly. So I don't know what the other two commissioners want to do, but they all are important parts of our community. We know how important our animals are. People live a lot longer when they have an animal that jumps in their lap, even if it weighs 50 pounds or 100 pounds.
So as I say, so we want to proceed with kind of allocating these dollars right now. There's a proposal.
Well,
I think we also need to consider, you know, in prior years, in prior years, our budget was much less tight than it is now. But in prior years, we have allocated general fund dollars to, you know, basically augment the money that the license fees or that the permit fees generate for this program. And these are really important investments where if you're preventing thousands of unwanted litters of dogs and cats, then you're preventing all kinds of impacts that are caused by, you know, feral cats, dogs, and, you know, lots of unwanted animals in our community. So, you know, you know, while times are very tight right now, you know, adding a few $1,000s from the general fund to these, you know, $5,000 that we have, I think might be a worthwhile investment. And I want us to consider that.
So as a starting point for myself, I would select 3 recipients and be able to proceed with that, staying within those, you know, within our available resources. So it looks like I'll go in 3 different ways. We've done this before.
Well, I mean, I also, I don't, I wouldn't necessarily want to go with the split the money equally among all these groups because I think some of them are more impactful than others. You know, the numbers that Brightside Animal Shelter, Animal Center provided were much more compelling than a lot of the other applications. Humane Society of Central Oregon, even though they didn't provide the kind of metric numbers that the others provided. I know that they are having a huge impact, and I would want to get those numbers from them. But you know, so I may not narrow it down to 3, but I might narrow it down to 3 big ones and then a couple of little ones in terms of grants.
I know I give all my recycling to Brightside. So they've got Sisters, Tomalo, incredibly well covered as far as their recycling program, which I believe at one point in time would raise $100,000 for them. So yeah, the Brightside does an excellent job. My 2 cats were cared for by Brightside.
So do we, as I say, kind of starting the beginning, you want to kind of try to get this thing landed today or because
I don't think we should add any more funding to it, honestly. Hopefully our new system for paying dog licensing fees is going to be able to increase the amount of donations. We mentioned that a while ago. Yes.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. I was going to provide an update on that and I forgot today. And I don't have the appropriate person here to provide an update, but what I can say generally speaking is that the dog licensing program is switching to an online platform quite soon. And there will be an option on the online platform to donate. Additionally, there's some merchandise available on the online platform, and all of the profits from that merchandise will go into this fund.
Right.
So I'm not sure what it hasn't been tested in Deschutes County, so I'm sure the person running that program could give more information.
Morning, Commissioners. For the record, Robert Tintel, Chief Financial Officer, also in charge of dog licensing.
What a title.
A portion of the retail sales
Okay.
is available, not all the profits for the retail sales.
Mhm.
We can allocate going to spay and neuter donations. And that's what the plan is. It is a service called DocuPet, a software, and we are in the process of working with the software company. Hope to have that online by July 1st. And just as a reminder for those who may be listening, all dogs are required to be licensed in Deschutes County, and we will have a press release and a whole public awareness campaign once with the release of the new software coming out, just as a side note.
Thank you.
Well, and I support sticking within our $5,000 budget right now. You know, as I say, if we're going to proceed today, let's just stay right there. Our budget, we haven't finalized it, and it's just a real narrow path, and that's just the reality of the situation. So being able to get these dollars out in the amount available seems to be the appropriate place for myself right now. So yeah, as I say, we're ready to proceed with kind of figuring out what we want to do here.
Yes.
I'd still like us to consider adding a little bit more money from the general fund, but if there's no support for that, then we'll move on.
Can't support it at this time.
Okay, so as I say, I support Brightside Animal Shelter Foundation, foundational services in Redmond area, Humane Society of Central Oregon, foundational services for the whole area. So it sounds like there may be common ground on that too, at the requested level. So that brings us to $3,500 to begin with.
You mean to give those to
Their requested
their
amount.
requested amount? The Furry Friends Foundation and Sisters does an awesome job too. I mean, maybe.
As I say, I was just looking for the
Yeah.
first
That
couple.
was my number 3 in terms
you
of the top 3. Those
Right.
my top 3.
I thought maybe giving all 3 of those 1,000 and then giving 500 to Council on Aging, because they have a clientele that I think animals are so important for. And then the other one is the Bunny Foundation, and they actually have done a lot of work. I love pet bunnies anyway. 500 for those 2. I don't know, something like that. But because they've all, they all have been tested in our grant program. They've come back and they've given us numbers.
I'm okay with that. Among these, feral bunnies don't have the kinds of impacts that feral dogs and cats do. But, but
Oh,
I mean, at the levels we're talking about, $500, $250, I don't think it's I don't think that's an amount of money that's significant to these organizations, and B, I don't think it's a really big deal, big enough deal to argue about.
So if you want to
Oh, I
clarify that,
actually-
it sounds like we're.
actually, I forgot. I did
Uh-oh.
have Street Dog Hero as 1,000 too, because they were actually last time when we did scoring, they received the most funding. So I just thought, well, I've seen a lot of stories about what they're doing in our community.
Do you have a proposal that adds up to 5,000?
Yes, I do. Okay, so I will make a motion then to give Brightside, Furry Friends, Humane Society, and Street Dog 1,000 each, and then Council on Aging and Embers Wildflower Animal 500.
It's fine.
So there's a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded, spending $5,000. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Commissioner Dare,
Yes.
Commissioner Chang,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. There we
Thank you.
go.
Great,
Got it
thanks.
done today.
Thank you.
And thanks for everybody that's, providing these services out there. Not a lot of resources, but some resources, and we got to a clear and decisive answer today.
Hopefully, our dog fund and spay fund will increase tremendously with the new opportunity starting July 1st.
So at this time, other items, and we do have 2 executive sessions today, but any other items to fill in? Anything, Nick? Anybody else? So association, go
I'll
ahead.
mention 2 things. Number 1, the Houston fire north of Redmond. The last couple of days, it's not confirmed yet, but there's much speculation that that was caused by outdoor debris burning, pile burning at someone's residence. The Oregon Department of Forestry is reporting that over half of the fires that have occurred in the state of Oregon so far this fire season are escaped debris burns from people's property. And so, just want to encourage everyone to be thinking about, if that's the way you want to dispose of the material, from your property, and we want to encourage people to do defensible space cleanups around their homes. But if that's the way that you want to dispose of the material generated, then please be very, very careful and very attentive to that. But B, I think it also points to the need for us to continue to offer more and different kinds of opportunities for people to dispose of that material without burning it individually at their house. The fire-free events are great. The Firewise community, delivering a dumpster to a community to let them use, that's great. We need to expand both of those things, but we also need to think about other ways of disposing of material for people that are convenient and that they might opt for instead of burning stuff in their own yard, because it's a chronic significant source of ignitions for wildfires.
Maybe a biomass plant.
Yeah.
Biochar, John Day.
So there's ideas out
I mean,
there. I'm
if
just
you're
joking around.
if you're offering to let them bring it to the landfill for free and it's only getting us that far, a biomass plant isn't gonna do anything more.
It'll be a beneficial combustion that adds at least a little bit of value. So
Yeah, but it's only motivating so many people to do it right now. So we need to actually make it easier for people to get rid of the material, or easier or more less cost effort for them in some way.
That's why I went to Salem Friday morning really, really early and dropped off my notes to all the members of the Ways and Means Committee regarding House Bill 3135. It's actually $585,000 for Deschutes County for help with juniper removal. If you look at pictures from 80 years ago between Redmond and Sisters, there were no junipers. So I'm hoping, I've heard good feedback on the call yesterday morning at 7 a.m. that people are incredibly aware of that bill. 7 counties are involved and it could be helpful. And then I want to say to the community, because driving up Newport, I see all these dried out wood fences. And I want to tell people in this community, you need to clean up. And there is a product called Universal Fire Shield from that company, and it's called Fire Coat number 100. You need to get those wood fences either sealed by that product, which lasts 6 to 7 years approximately. There's a lot of really dried out wood fences, and there's a lot of cleanup that needs to be done. Everywhere I drive, I get really apprehensive, because if the wind is blowing and a fire starts, as anyone who's lived in Southern California knows, clearly you cannot stop that fire. It takes a whole bunch. And last night, the wind wasn't particularly blowing that hard at my house, but I could clearly see the fire. And I thought it was at Lower Bridge, closer to Redmond. But from my house, you could see it. And it's time, people. It's now June, and if you didn't clean up in May, you need to clean up now.
So a couple other items. Last Friday, I was able to attend the Latino Community Association 25-year celebration. So some of the board members and community members at their facility here in the east side of Bend. It was great to see everybody. Also, Dr. Chesley retirement from COCC, be able to attend that with other community members, celebrating her, I think it was about 7 years here. She was here leading Central Oregon Community College. So that was a really nice event to be able to celebrate her leadership. Yesterday, Health Hero Award event. I apologize, I didn't make it there. I walked.
You walked over to the wrong.
I walked leisurely over there, and by the time.
But it wasn't Pioneer. It was.
Got it. You said exactly what I did.
I
I
know.
walked leisurely over there, and then I just totally messed up my timing.
I know. They shouldn't never start with the same letter, because that's where I thought it was. But yeah. So.
It was a wonderful event.
Yeah, as I say, I intended on being there, didn't make it. COIC board meeting tomorrow night, and then also our legislative update Friday morning. It sounds like we're having an early morning with legislators also. So before, is it 7 or 7:30? I guess I don't know.
It says 7.
7 o'clock start. So, and this will be our Zoom call. Legislators joining us at 7, and then convening at as Deschutes County with our lobbyists at 8 o'clock, or we'll see how it all flows.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
so
it's
just
AOC.
yeah, it's good.
AOC.
Okay, good. So we're gonna be done by 8. Good. Well, at least we're talking that through here. So 7 a.m. Friday
Then
morning.
Sunday morning, we had the dedication ceremony at Mountain View Fellowship Church in Redmond for the playground that they're putting in for their safe parking program. So that was a wonderful event to attend. The community was there, and the kids had their little trucks, and they dug the dirt. There were no shovels involved, just little kids' dump trucks. And they were, oh, no, there were shovels, and this one little boy was so cute. Anyway, they were all cute.
I saw a little coverage on that. And then, welcome to the AOC, Association of Oregon Counties Board Retreat that finalized Monday night, or I guess yesterday, so Tuesday midday. So it sounds like you went to dinner Monday night, Commissioner Chang. I was there Sunday night and Monday during the day. So Commissioner Dare and I were in the same room for the retreat part of that during the Monday session also.
And people were raving about the accommodations, about coming to Sisters and how much they really appreciated being there. Yes, so that was really wonderful. And I brought a box of Sisters Bakery for them too, just in case they missed the bakery. So
There you go.
yeah, it was a really good event, and I thank them for scheduling that in our county.
Well, the other things I was going to say when it's my turn was that the Coordinated Homeless Response Office and the Regional Housing Council met on Monday afternoon, evening. We figured out the staffing and staffing funding for the Coordinated Homeless Response Office, working with COIC. That was kind of the big upshot of the Crow meeting. There was also a great presentation from Mosaic Medical about their street medicine program. They called it street medicine program, but they often go into remote. They often go out into the dirt basically to provide medical services to homeless neighbors. The Regional Housing Council, one of the big things that happened there was a discussion of the importance of housing as a as a social determinant of health, basically. So the Central Oregon Health Council came and presented some findings on that. Also talked about some of the legislation that is moving through the legislature right now. Some of the proposed legislation and the one bill that the group agreed to back and provide support for was a bill related to youth homelessness that a couple of legislators are working on right now. I'm sorry, I don't remember the number. But the other thing I wanted to just mention was that this is our friends at CET and COIC invited us to Tri Transit this week. This is Tri Transit Week, and I took the bus this morning to get to work. Made it a little tight getting off the bus in downtown and walking here, but I did manage to get to the office, get my jacket on, and get down here in time.
It takes 8 to 12 minutes to walk to the transit center from here because I've done that a few times over the years. I haven't done it this week, but I kind of need to know how long it takes to get from Hawthorne Station to the office here. So as I say, between about 8 and 12, depending on the lights and the conditions.
I mean, in the big picture, the really important thing about that is if more people, they're trying to extend hours right now to accommodate more working people. If more people ride the bus, then they can increase the frequency of buses on key routes, which will make it even more attractive to more people to ride the bus. So could be a virtuous cycle.
Very good. So anything else for this general meeting? So we do have.
I just heard from Doug and he actually texted that they just announced they're going to be done in 2 weeks in Salem. So, interesting time. And, there was a horrific stabbing in Salem by a resident of Deschutes County and 12 people were stabbed. I know one or two of them were in incredibly critical condition, but the person had a rap sheet that was really long. And so it reminded me of Randall Kirby and that whole story with Randall Kirby, who had an incredibly long rap sheet. And what are we doing when we have people that are still on the streets that have committed a lot of crime? So I'm hoping that the person stabbed is okay. And then some of the people that were stabbed were, didn't stay in the hospital that night. And I'm just hoping that there was a place for them to go that wasn't back to the mission where they were originally living. I'm hoping somebody else stepped up and actually, I'm sure that they're suffering from PTSD from that event.
Thank you. So seeing none for this regular session, we'll go to an executive session.
The Deschutes County Board of Commissioners will now convene an executive session pursuant to ORS 192.660. The specific authorization for this executive session is ORS 192.660 subsection 2E and H, which allows the board to meet in order to discuss real property negotiations and litigation. Designated staff and the media are allowed to remain during the executive session. However, the media may only report that the board met in executive session and the identified basis for meeting in executive session. Recording devices are not permitted. No final decisions will be made, and at the conclusion, we will open the doors and invite the audience back to the meeting.
We are out of executive session. Is there anything else for this meeting on June 4th, our 31st anniversary for Kathy and I?
Anything else? Oh, I did hear that 40 veterans have moved from the Veterans Village to housing. So 40 veterans have graduated.
That's great.
Yeah, it's really fabulous. They do such a wonderful job and they're building the greenhouse. So
Okay.
good news.
Seeing nothing else, meeting adjourned.